We speculated about this yesterday, but I guess Ryan Zimmerman did make a statement yesterday. Made it clear he's not retiring, but he will not play this season for the Washington Nationals. And so that was kind of expected. I don't know that the Joe Ross announcement was expected, and that could be a hit because he was going to be competing for the 5th starter spot. So I guess it's going to be Austin Voth.
Yeah, looks like it. We kind of assumed, like you said, it was that Zim was going to do it. I mean, he was talking about it. He sounded pretty serious too. So, but we had no idea about Joe Ross. Both of Joe Ross's parents are doctors, so you can understand, kind of the perspective that he has. But yeah, you're right. I mean, Joe Ross is, he was being counted on to be the 5th guy, and now you have to move on to, in my opinion, a pitcher that's not as good. So we'll see how it affects them. And then the question is, do you expect any other Nats players to opt out? Because you're starting to see a little bit more activity in terms of other players from other teams. Mike Leake from the D-backs has already said, he's a pitcher. He's already said he's out. Ian Desmond announced he's out. You're going to see more. You just are. So we'll see if any more Nats players decide to sit out.
Yeah, and remember, a lot of players weren't happy with what was going on the labor side. You had the negotiations between the owners and the players, and many players seemed unhappy. And then it seemed like at the end, Manfred just rammed down a 60-game season down their throats, right? Now, they did have to approve it.
He had the power to do that.
But they begrudgingly approved it. And so I think a lot of these players who didn't seem happy with the negotiations, if they have some safety concerns, they're just saying, F it.
Out. Yeah, we're out.
I like, though, that Zimmerman said, look, I'm not retired. So he's just opting out of this season, and hopefully things return to normal, and maybe there's a vaccine in the coming months, and he'd be more willing to come back to play. But his mom is in the high-risk category. She has MS. That's why he has that fundraiser every year. And he's got a bunch of little kids, and he just doesn't want to deal with it.
Well, here's the other factor, and Jason brought it up. Jason always cuts to the core of everything. So he's making $1.5 million, I think it is, this year. Okay, they missed, so they only get paid basically a third, right? Playing 60
Something's
games.
going on with your microphone now, Eric.
Yeah, I mean,
no, it's been the whole time. So he's only making $500,000. For him, it's just nothing.
Right.
To risk it, to fly out, it's just not. It's not financially worth it.
I mean, his legacy is firmly cemented with the Washington Nationals. Okay, he's been the face of the franchise for a decade plus. He's made a boatload of money. He's won a World Series. He has nothing left to prove, especially for just a greatly reduced salary late in his career. I don't have a problem with him sitting out the 60-game sham of a season that's upcoming.
Yeah, let me make this clear. I have no problem with what he's doing either. But I do want to throw it out there. 800-636-1067. Is there an opinion out there? Are there people who do look down on these players who aren't going to come back for health reasons, for whatever reasons? Some people look down on guys who take paternity leave. So are there guys out there who are going to look down on Zimmerman saying, hey, you're really letting down your team. You should be out there. You'll be fine. You're going to be isolated. There's going to be a quarantine situation. Again, I don't personally feel that way, but I bet you there are some.
I'm sure there are some.
Of course there are.
But if he doesn't feel like it's safe enough for him to go to work, and that's what he's doing, even though it's a glamorous job, it's still a job. It's still work. If he doesn't feel safe at work in the working conditions that have been set forth and feels like it's a threat to his family, then it makes all the sense in the world for him to sit it out and then try to come back in 2021, which is what it sounds like he's going to attempt to do.
Right. To answer your question, yes, there are going to be fans that say, hey, dude, suck it up. We need you. The team needs you. They're going to do their best to keep you safe, keep your family safe. But, how can you blame the guy? He's got an infant now, as well as 2 young daughters at home. So he's got 3 kids. He's got a mom that's got health issues.
Which is the bigger loss for the Nationals? Again, you can chime in on that. 800-636-1067. Is it losing Ryan Zimmerman, who you expected to play first base, maybe some DH? He proved in the playoffs to be a really good pinch hitter in games that he wasn't starting as well, or Joe Ross, who more than likely was going to be the fifth starter?
I think it's probably Zim, just because, he's versatile in that way. You can play him at first, you can DH him, which is now going to be allowed. Plus, you got the veteran leadership. So I would say Zim, but who knows? I mean, 60 games is such a short season. It could take, 30 games for a guy to really get in rhythm. So I don't know. I mean, it's a great question.
It kind of depends on how Voth
might put a little bit more pressure on the bullpen, to be honest with you.
It depends on how he fares. I mean, I'm actually looking at Austin's numbers from last year. So he had 9 games, 8 started. 2-1 with a 3.3 ERA. Not bad.
Yeah, not bad. I just think Ross is the better player, the better pitcher. Just my opinion. But I think it's we just don't know. There's so many unknowns on how these players are going to perform in such a short season, and how they've worked out in the off season, who they're working out with, what they're getting out of those workouts.
Yeah, the team.
But let's be honest. If you have Max, Strassi, and Corbin, you're banking on those three to have whatever. If they're going to have 10 starts each or whatever it is, you're banking on those guys to really kind of carry the load. If you're kind of relying on your 4th and 5th starters in a 60-game season, I think you're in trouble. So I would say Zim is probably the bigger loss.
The Nats have the luxury of having the top-heavy rotation, which I think is going to play to their advantage in a shortened season.
And not only, the top is great, obviously, with Scherzer, Strasburg, and Corbin, but Sanchez was a beast last year. He started off terrible, but then he became awesome.
Yeah, exactly. So if he can pitch the way he pitched last year, then you're fine with your top 4 spots, and then you don't really worry about that 5th spot. Because if he's struggling, or depending on how the schedule works out, you can kind of maneuver your way around the 5th starter. But yeah, I mean, it's a big story just because it's Zim, and Zim has been here forever. He's only played for one team. Fans love him, but he's got legitimate concerns.
Yeah, his statement, the official statement is, after a great deal of thought and given my family's circumstances, 3 young children, including a newborn, and a mother at high risk, I've decided not to participate in the 2020 season. But then he added, to be clear, I am not retiring at this time. I have not decided on my future in baseball past 2020.
Mm-hmm.
He probably feels like he can hit for a long time. I remember the night they won the World Series, you guys always make fun of me. I stayed up and watched all the pressers. So he sat down with, Pedro Martinez and all those guys, and they actually brought up the retirement word with him, and he was like, I'm not retiring.
Uh-huh.
He was really adamant about it. I mean, he's not 40. I know he's considered old in baseball, but he's not that old.
What is Ryan, 35 now?
He's 35, yeah. So he'll be 36 next year. I don't know, man. It's it'll be interesting to see what they do. What Mike Rizzo does next year, if they just sign him to another 1-year deal for $2 million. Who knows? I mean, they might just want to keep him here.
But
and that's the other thing is he was so good in the postseason. If the Nats do make the postseason this year, it's a huge loss.
But it is going to be a situation where teams just aren't going to be 100%. So you have some of these players pulling out before this starts. What's going to happen when there's daily testing or whatever they're doing in Major League Baseball? Are they testing every day or every other day? So I saw yesterday in NHL, 24 players, I guess, tested positive. So you're going to have some players testing positive and dropping out. And you wonder, the timing of that. Like if you have, Strasburg, let's say the Nationals make the playoffs, all of a sudden he tests positive a week to go in the regular season into the playoffs. I mean, it's going to be dramatically different.
Right, and you're going to have guys test positive. You just are. You're not going to have 0% positive tests. It's just not going to happen.
I don't know if you read Ian Desmond's Instagram post, and he had players dropping out for other reasons. Ian Desmond, a really heartfelt message, really long message about kind of how he grew up, a biracial kid, the fields that he played on as a kid, the prejudice that he dealt with as a kid. I mean, the crazy part to me is he played on a high school team, which he said, he's biracial, and I think there was one other black kid on the team, and they would yell white power before games.
Hold
Could
on,
you imagine?
His own teammates would, or
Yes, read the post.
Yeah, that's
Read
crazy.
Ian Desmond's post. And so I guess he's really been shaken by what has gone on the last couple of months, and he pointed to this kid who I believe went to the Nats Youth Academy, who ultimately he met when he was 12, but then I believe was murdered when he was 18, and just kind of everything put together, he's just decided to sit out the season. And so a lot of teams just aren't going to be the same.
And Desmond has 4 kids, and his wife is pregnant with their 5th.
Right.
So he's citing both issues. He's obviously worried about the health risk as well.
Well, also taking a massive haircut. These guys, most of them will not say it, but taking a massive salary cut plays into all of these decisions as well. I mean, there's no way around it. It has to factor in.
I'm sure it does, but if you decide to sit out, unless you actually have like a health risk,
Yeah.
then you're forfeiting your salary.
Right. I mean, I think obviously most guys are still going to play. They're just going to suck it up and play for the reduced salaries that they all are forced to take.
Yeah.
But I think when you're weighing the pros and cons of whether you're going to play or not, the loss of income certainly hurts. And for a guy like Zim, look, I'm not trying to get into his pockets too much. He's made a lot of money over his career. He has that fallback where a lot of these younger guys
they don't
probably do not.
Yeah.
A lot of younger guys have not made $135+ million in their career. They just haven't and never will.
I'm pretty sure that if you are a player that is considered high risk, I guess you have to be considered high risk by a doctor. But if you have pre-existing conditions and you're compromised, I'm pretty sure you can sit out and still get paid.
Okay.
I think that's one of the legitimate outs you have as a player, but you have to have a pre-existing medical condition to get paid. I'm not sure these other guys do.
Yeah, Cakes, you're right. I'm looking at Zimmerman's career earnings on spotrack.com.
Yep.
$139,892,000.
Yeah,
it's a pretty good living.
It's yes. And look, he's earned it. He deserves
Absolutely.
it. And I think that helps him obviously make that decision. He doesn't have to go back for the money. A lot of these guys though do have to go back to make that living. To
All right,
earn their money.
and then look at Desmond. Desmond made in the last 3 years $45 million just in the last 3 years.
Right.
Could you imagine?
No, of course.
Could you
not.
imagine actually?
No.
Could you imagine $4.5 million? Let's
No.
just move it down
Again, no. Can't imagine that.
I mean, Desmond signed a 5-year, $70 million deal with the Rockies. I guess that was back in 2017. And he made $8 million the first year. Or, I'm sorry, $22 million the first year, $15 last year. Was going to make $15 million this year, and he still has $23 million left on his deal. So he's G'd up. He's fine. He's got the young kids. He's obviously he's affected by the unrest. So he decided, I'm out.
And you wonder if on the national side, if these are the first 2 dominoes. So Zimmerman's out. Ross is out. Are there going to be others? And if so, that will dramatically affect this team because these are contributors. These aren't guys on the end of the bench. I mean, I understand that Ross is a 5th starter, but look, a 5th starter, you're pitching every 5 games. And Zimmerman, obviously, a huge contributor offensively and a good glove at first base. So they're going to miss those guys, and you wonder what's going to happen next.